Hello everybody, I'm GG and welcome back to this tutorial series, and in today's episode we are going to take a look at adding more cards to our roller coasters. The first thing you want to do is make a new area list in the roller coaster class, or in any class it is, that contain your entities or armor stands, but we've worked with entities so far, so we're going to work with entities again, and I'm going to call that cards equals new array list entity, and then the brackets and close. Then what we want to do is we want to add the cards to our cards array list. But for now I'm just gonna spawn a card, and I'm gonna get ent.getWorld.spawn entity. Of course you should do this different, but just for the sake of this tutorial I'm just gonna do it like this and spawn in a new armor stand on the location of the entity we right clicked, and entity type is going to be armor stand, of course. But now we want to cards.add. It actually is cards.add. So we want to add that to our round coast. So we want to actually change the constructor, which we're going to do in a second, and we want to pass in cards as well. And what we also want to do, because now the cards is gonna go and it will all work fine, at least if we modify round coaster, not yet, but once we stop the roller coaster, only the first card will stop and the rest will just fly off into distance. And to do that, what we want to do is we want to loop through our cards. So for every entity inside of our cards, so array list of entities, we want to do entity dot set velocity to a new vector 0 0 0, and actually we can remove the card as well, entity dot remove, and then we need to remove it from the list as well, so cards dot remove entity. That way just we keep things nice and clean. You do not have to remove the cards at the end, but just I just like to do it. Okay, so let's go to round coaster. Inside our round coaster class we actually want to do a couple of things. First we want to change the round coaster constructor to also contain our array list of entity, and let's just call that C for cards, and auto implement that. And we want a way to store that over here, so what we are going to do is array list entity, and then we're gonna call it cards. And below of here we're gonna make cards equal to C, and that will fix our cards. But now, yeah, what should we do now? We have the cards and we have a reference over there. We know the entities of the cards, but actually we want the cards to move after the previous card. So the first card is going to be up front, is going to move along the coaster, and the second card is going to try and follow the first card. And to do that we actually need to mess around with vectors a little. And what we are going to do is round coaster entity end. We also gonna store in a new array list the location of the previous location of our card. So previous card, let's just call it like that, equals a new array list and then location. Because if we know the previous location, we can make it move towards that location and import that. And what we also want to do, previous card, let's just short it by previous. We want to add previous.add the location of our entity in the beginning. And we also want for each entity in, let's just do stand equals that. Let's just keep it on stand. And over here for each entity in cards, so entity inside of cards, what we want to do is also store their location. So cards dot add entity dot get location. This will store the location of every entity. It is now, and for that we can just get back to it later. Cards dot add, oh wait, it's previous dot add, I'm sorry, previous dot add entity.location. Okay, Now that we have stored the previous locations of our entities, we actually want to loop through that list and get the entity of the location of the entity or the card before the card we're currently working with. So to do that, we are going to create a for loop int I equals 0, I below cards dot size, and then we want to do I plus plus. Just a simple for loop over here, nothing complicated. Inside of here we want to get two locations, so we're gonna get location loc1, which equals cards, no, which equals previous dot get I, and we are going to get location loc2, which is going to be equal cards dot get I dot get location. So we're going to get the location of card 1 and over here of card 2 or card 2 and card 3, etc, etc, etc. And if you want to move an object from one location to the other location, the vector is going to be equal of it's going to be equal to the location where you want to go to minus the location where you're at. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a double. I'm going to call it new x, which equals loc1 dot get x minus loc2 dot get x. And I'm going to do the same for new y, new z. So it's going to be, just copy that, new y, and over here, y as well, and over there, y as well, z, z, and z. And then, of course, if we have x, y, and z value, we are going to make a vector out of it. Vector v equals new vector, and it's going to be nx, ny, and nz. And then the last thing you need to do is to get your cards.get I and set its velocity equal to vector v. Okay, and what we want to do as the last, we want to get this one again, this loop again, because after that we have set every velocity, we want to store the new location. So we're gonna get previous.set and use set above there, because I know the first card is always going to be there. So the first one at 0 is always going to be stand.get location, and after that it's going to be previous.set and then I plus 1, since it starts at index 1, and the location is going to be cards.get I get location, and that will store the new location for a previous, and it will go back again. And that's actually how you attach multiple cards. Of course, the more you add to the cards area list, the more cards you're gonna get, and the longer your train will be. And of course, if you have a small roller coaster, you cannot have too many cards. And that's actually it, how you add multiple cards to your roller coaster. And let's go take a look at this at the server. See you over there. We're inside Minecraft now, started the server, and let's go take a look at what we have created. And I'm gonna place an armor stand over here, and when I right click it, you will see that a second armor stand is following it nicely. And let's click it again. And that's it for today's episode. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like. If you want to see more, subscribe. If you got any feedback or suggestions, down below in the comment section or in the description box, you will find a link to the Discord channel, which you can ask questions. There's around 80 people over there at this moment. Might be more when you're watching. But thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.